in opening government, FBSA in opening opposition, FTB in closing government, and FBSB in closing opposition. With the motion, this House prefer personally adjustable religious rituals as opposed to generally prescribed ones, example but not limited to time for fasting, minimum amount of prayer per day, and etc. To open the debate and the case of government bench, I would like to call the first speaker of opening government to the Prime Minister. The podium is yours.
Tes. Okay. Pas pakai handphone sama aja. Good afternoon, everyone. I will deliver my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen of the audiences, honorable judges and fellow debaters. Religions in the current years are viewed as just a traditional tradition rather than a system of worshiping the divine power. Many people reckon that religions do not fit the present time, and therefore we propose supporting the personally adjustable religions as it can be adjusted. And before we move further into this debate, it is important to identify the key problems that this motion addresses, which is, it is to strict for the diversity of believers. By identifying this debate, our stance is we want to make a concept for the world where every religious rituals will be adjustable for everyone. And our goal is we will make a strong spiritual journey so that we can show that our stance on this issue is the correct one, besides to demonstrate that our position represents the best course of action for addressing the problems at hand. In order to fully comprehend this motion and to gain a deeper comprehension, there are several things to be elucidated as the mechanism of my argument today. To begin with, we will explain what do we mean by adjustable. Adjustable means that everyone, regardless who you are, who they are, has right to do the religions. They can practice their religion practice based on subjective interpretation and comfortability. Secondly, and just as importantly also, it does not mean that this ritual will be erased, but will going to be allow individuals to have their own commitment, to set their own commitment with their practicing rituals. For example, we can pray or salat for 3 times a day, not 5 times a day as the prescribed ones. And also we can fasting in Ramadan only 1 week. And furthermore, it is important to mention that we cannot overlook the fact that adjustable does not mean only reducing the amount, but you can do something more than that. For example, if you want to do salat 10 times a day, it's okay too. It's really fine for you because it is personally adjustable based on your timetable. And in the following speech, we will provide further evidence to support my arguments. First, why should religious rituals should be adjustable? Because we cannot standardize every believer because they have different backgrounds, characteristic, and they are also different in everything, and it will impact on their spiritual journey. And some people will practice religious rituals only for the sake, for formality, and not enjoying their praying, and they don't even feel like they are communicating with the God. And for example, when we are still exhausted from doing something, when we got back home from working, we have to do rituals. We have to do for example, salat. As nowadays, as this time, we go home and we have to do the taraweh, but we do the taraweh not from our willingness, and we will feel like we will be grumpy because of it. And comparatively, on our side, when the rituals are adjustable, it will be more meaningful and will be fulfilling, we will have the fulfilling experience, because we do everything from our heart, and also we do something that is the most relevant to us. And it can lead to the flexibility of the doing and practicing the ritual itself, because it is adjustable, because it has also no rigid structure, rigid rules and tradition that we have to follow. And it is also it is more effectively to change their routine based on current needs. So if they work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., they can do the prayer after the working. And we also will offer another benefit that we can get from personal adjustable religions. The first one is individual autonomy. We will emphasize the importance of individual autonomy. We will be able to do the we will be able to take the responsibility personally, and we can also empower individuals to have and take spiritual journeys, because they will make their own decisions about their beliefs. And also, these personally adjustable religions will offer you the inclusivity, because it maintains more diverse perspective experience from the spiritual journeys. For example, A believe that they have to do the prayers at night, but another person will think that they will do the prayers in the morning before they go to work. And it will also fit more to themselves as they can integrate their own unique background. Also, we can do something like, when we are a Javanese people, we can do the offering, and we can also bring flowers to the cemetery. And this personally adjustable religion also offer you with the growth and change of your personal and well-being, because it facilitates us with the growth and change that leads to greater personal experience, development, and the self-awareness, because we more comprehend what we are doing, what we do, and we will also value more the rituals rather than being grumpy because we are asked to do the rituals. We are asked to practice our rituals after doing something. And also, this facilitated growth of change is because when we are on our spiritual journey to prove which one is better, we will also attempt a lot of which one is more fit, which one is the fittest one to us, the timetable and also the schedule that we will do the prayers. And to sum up of all of what I have already argued, I will say that I proudly agree that personal adjusted religion is better as opposed to the prescribed one, and because you will be valuing the religions more than you are following the prescribed one. Thank you.
Thank you for your very great speech. To open the case of opposition bench, I would like to invite the opposition leader and the first speaker of opposition, opening opposition, here.
That's. I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, before I start my debate, I would like to give a background to add to the already existing background. This debate talks about preferability of an adjustable religion, one where you can decide things for yourself. The status quo is that religion is accustomed to rituals that have been put in stones or Bibles for hundreds of thousands of years. And there's a reason why that's the way it is, which I will explain later. Our objective here is we aim for the House not to prefer personally adjustable religion, but instead one that is locked and run with the history of that religion itself. the framework we're running here with, that we're running with here is, we will talk about the importance of moral value of religion in this debate, to which I will discuss more in my speech. But before that, I would like to give a few rebuttals towards the opening government. First, the opening government stated that those kinds of religion puts more emphasis on individualism. The religion I'm talking about is the personally adjustable one. Opening government stated that people who follow those kinds of religion tends to be puts more emphasis on individualism, but we disagree. Us humans, as creatures of God, should put more emphasis on collectivity, should put more emphasis on connecting to different humans, or even God. Or maybe God has the extension of himself as humans. And that's why I think we should connect better to humans and not focus on individualism, especially when talking about religion. Secondly, the opening government stated that the followers of a personally adjusted religion can be more spiritually connected, but we disagree. Human nature tends to be more lazy, ladies and gentlemen. Say, if someone were to be told that they can adjust however long their prayer can be, how much prayer they can do in a day, then I will guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, that person will eventually lead to the decision where they will end up having less prayer, less fasting time, or less anything in their ritual compared to following the rules set in stone. Because human natures, even though they may feel as if this is enough for myself, this is enough for what I am capable of, human being, this is what I'm good for in this case of a religion. But no, that action stems from laziness. They just want less time to spend on religious activities. But instead they cover it up as, oh no, my sins aren't that much, so I shouldn't pray that often. Coming into my argumentation. First, I would like to talk and maybe characterize what religion is and why we as humans believe in it, why we value religion, why religion holds a high place in human society. Firstly, we would like to explain it in the faith side, why we as a believer will prefer a personally adjustable religion. First, it's God's command. It's God's written command in the Bible, in the Quran, in everything. It's what God tells us to do. It's what God's tell his students to tell us what to do. We cannot just change it just for the sake of our own personality. We cannot just customize it however we want. That's disrespecting God's command. Secondly, it's what's passed down through time. It's what our ancestors followed. It's what my mother followed. It's what my friends followed. It's what everybody followed up to this point. There's no reason why it should be changed just because you feel like you need to do something less or you need to do something more. That's not how religion tradition works. Thirdly, it's what God wants us to do, not to customize, as I said in my first point. My fourth point being, this is all I'm talking about is excluding emergency-based adjustment. If the government side of the house is going to argument about that, I believe that a religion wouldn't want one of their followers to become sick, let's say during fasting, when they have maybe a disease that doesn't allow them to don't eat for a long time. I'm sure that those kinds of things are already written in the Bible of that religion itself, and that's why it shouldn't count as customizing or personally adjusting it. Secondly, does the house prefer a religion where everything is a competition? Everything as in rituals or prayers or anything. We don't want people, for example, comparing how many times they pray in a day, how long they fasted, or etc. This act alone already breaks many religions' rules to not show off your religious activities. If the government side of the house rejects this, do realize that we as humans have the tendency to show off no matter what it is. And that's including how many prayers I did tonight, how many hours I spent fasting, and I'm sure that's gonna become ego material for people. Second argument. With the amount of freedom left to believers, do you really believe it's not prone to be exploited? How many more branches of religion do you want? What classifies as a religion anymore? What's the moral value of religion anymore once the only thing that sets standard, maybe the Bible or the Quran or anything, to set religion is changed? What if the Bible is changed? Then what can I follow? My own heart? My friends saying, we can't put any more justification on what we do for religion if it's something that's personally adjustable, and that's why I oppose this motion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that great speech. And to continue the case of opening government, I would like to call the Deputy Prime Minister here.
Check. I'm audible?
Yes.
All right. Before start, couple of disclaimer. My speech might contain something sensitive, so it's only for the sake of the debate. I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. 2 points of framings to begin, right? Number 1, this is an alternative world comparative motion. Therefore, it should be obvious in opening government that it's possible for us to change the world and imagine a world where when the religious exercise or religious rituals are something that can be done adjustably, right? God comment that have been stated by opening oppositions, their main principle in opening oppositions is actually not relevant, because principally God comment was made for the sake of believers' journey, right? Therefore, what is more important is the spiritual journey. My member have explained to you towards how spiritual journey will be better if it's much more adjustable, because number 1, it's something that can accommodate every single believers, considering the fact that believers comes from variety backgrounds. We think it's so much important for you to do so, because as religions, ideally you should be able to accommodate all of your believers, right? Worst case scenario, what happens on their side of the house when you try to force the one single standard for religious exercises, more likely it comes to the outcomes of how your spiritual journey will only be seen as the sake of formality, and you will not feel comfortable with that. Therefore, we say it's something that's so dismissive in opening oppositions, we don't think that principle can fly. But second thing for opening oppositions, right? Let's be charitable and buy the argumentation regarding collectivity, because that's the only things that might make sense in opening oppositions. We say collectivity does not matter. Why so? Because at the end of the day, collectivity in our religions are something that are something that highly contingent towards how you can stay in the religions first, towards how you can enjoy your religions and try to do your exercise. It doesn't matter whether you do it alone or with other people. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter you do it jama'ah or maybe like you are doing it on your own houses, for example. As long as you do it, as long as the quality of it are good, therefore we say collectivity does not matter. In my speech, I will talk about 2 things. 1, I will talk about why you should not standardize from the very first beginning regarding the idea of religious exercises or religious rituals. And number 2, I will talk about the credibility of religion and why it will be much better if you have the adjustable exercises at the end of the day. All the rebuttal will be integrated, so let's directly proceed, right? First thing first, let's talk about why you should not standardize. Hence, it's much better to have adjustable rituals, right? 3 layers. Number 1, fundamentally saying, in principle, your religion is your own personal connection with your God. No one can give standard. No one can, intervene with how you try to exercise your your rituals, because at the end of the day, it's your full right to decide on your own, right? The one who can judge you is only your God, not other people. Therefore, it's okay for you to have adjustable rituals. But second layer then, let's talk about spiritual journey. It's something that's much more important, and I will try to widen up the explanation that come from my member. Spiritual journey, essential for religions, it's so much important because that's what religions meant to be, right? I think spiritual journey will be better under the house under three structural reasons. Number one, have been explained because we come from a variety background, therefore I will not explain it further. But number two, understand that in doing the rituals, sometimes you may face some externalities. For example, you are sick in the middle of Ramadan, for example, therefore it's really hard for you to go for fasting. Or maybe you are in the middle of important meeting, important schedule, therefore you cannot go for prayer. Ideally, religion should not be that strict and should have some degree of compromises. This is why fatwa exists in Muslim. This is why compromises does exist in every single religions. And that also happens in what we are going to do in opening governments. What happens if you standardize is sending nuance that you should done your exercises and your rituals fully without tolerance at all, especially when it is already glorified a lot and pushed and a lot of exposure, for example, that you should done it with any compromises. What are the outcome? Two things. One, you force yourself and compromise your well-being. Number two, in other scenario, you will feel guilty as if you're not doing it, even though the fact that your religion should be the one who compromise, for example. But third layer in principle, I think comparatively what happens if it's self-adjustable is that people will be able to understand better regarding the true meaning of religions, the intimacy between you and your God. Therefore, we say it will give you a better spiritual journey. Last layer in the principle, don't worry about quality of believers, because maybe side oppositions want to come to the debate and say that, oh, you cannot change the rituals on your own. You cannot make it adjustable because it's just maybe you're lazy and so on and so forth. Therefore, the quality will be bad. We say people who adjust their rituals in our world doing it not because they are lazy, but under rational calculation and under something that we say are valid and also reasonable. Three things why it's reasonable. Number one, you are the one who know your priority, for example, setting up towards your own time and schedule. No one can, no one can see your schedules, therefore no one can judge you. But second, you are the one who know when does your spiritual condition will be satisfied, considering the fact that my member have framed towards you that adjusting does not mean reducing, but it also can be interpreted into how you want to add more, for example. Therefore, if you're adding more under the house, that's the exact moment when you know that your spiritual condition already been satisfied. Therefore, we say it's something that it's not irrational, but rather something that can be justified. But second contribution is the most important. It's about the credibility of religions. Understand the context that we're facing as a religion, right? Two things. One, we live in 2023, world have become progressive, a lot of people critical and they are reluctant to do religions. Number two, on top of that, propaganda from anti-religions community does exist. What are the outcome of this context? Two things. One, people reluctant to follow and have tendency to feel like they do not want to exercise the religions. Number two, the credibility of religions will significantly drop because, people will see it as if it is too strict, for example, therefore they are too lazy to do the religious exercises. Therefore, to counter all of that, we propose a world when you can adjust yourself and make it as flexible as possible, right? The comparative that we try to propose in opening government is two things. One, when you're going to be able to counter the propaganda that comes from anti-religions community, because right now they cannot say that we are too strict, we are trying to be flexible and adjusting our rituals with the necessity of individual. But second, we also can rise up our credibility better, because right now no one will feel grumpy and no one will try to complain regarding how religious too strict and too constructed, for example. We can change on your own necessity. We're so proud to propose.
Thank you so much for your great speech of the Deputy Prime Minister. And to continue the case of OO, I would like to call the second speaker of OO. For the Deputy Leader of Opposition, time is yours.
Test. So I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, here we talk about the religions. What matters in the religion in itself is the salvation that you got from the religion itself, right? Government side of the government side of the house stating to you that how under the side of the house the salvation from the religion in itself going to be increased by because they are adjustable by the what people need, what people want, what when do people want to be have the prayers and so on and so forth, right? But we think that these arguments actually are not true because firstly let's talk about how this kind of adjustability of this kind of prayers is actually going to make people are confused about what is the meaning of the religion in itself, because people's going to people's going to questioning about what is the parameter, where does the salvation is going to be at max and so on and so forth when you have different prayers in the religion in itself, right? People's going to be confused about in which state they're going to have the salvation in the religion in itself, right? So the matter here is how which world is better to have the salvation in the religions from the very first place. No, thank you. So all rebuttal is going to be integrated in my extension and argument, and let's coming to my first arguments that talking about the harmful of how these prayers are going to be adjustable. Government side of the house talking to you about how the adjustable prayers going to make people, it's because of people have different background, different agenda, different reason, and it's all valid, right? But we think that this kind of thing is still giving a bad impact for those kind of people in itself. Why is that so? Let's talk about the disintegration that will happen between the religion's believer in itself. It's going to create a disintegration in the social relation between people in the religions in itself, right? What will happen when prayers are adjustable to individual, people will start to compare and being competitive for each other. For example, A person prays 10 times a day. They will feel better than person B, for example, who prays only 3 times a day. These kind of things, yes, this kind of B person might have different background. They have a busy meeting, for example, and so on and so forth. They only can pray 3 times a day. But this kind of background is not really important for several people. They didn't really pay attention on what background, on what people, business, and so on and so forth when it comes to this kind of prayers. If they think that they pray 10 times a day is better than people pray 3 times a day, that make all of those kind of backgrounds differences and so on and so forth is not being paid attention for this kind of people. They will going to still comparing to each other prayers and so on and so forth. And these kind of things will create a discrimination. The one who diligently pray, for example, will underestimate the lesser one and so on and so forth. And it's going to make no safe place for every people, even if they have different business, different background, and so on and so forth, right? And these kind of things can create a vulnerable actors at the end of the day. No, thank you. We think that, yes, people have different businesses, less time available to do prayers and so on and so forth. For example, like working people versus unemployed people, they have different business, they have different times, and so on and so forth. These actors, the working people, for example, they do not have any other alternative, for example, to have do more prayers like the unemployed people, for example, because they have to do meetings, they have to do outside of the city, for example, and so on and so forth. These kind of actors who doesn't have any choices to do more prayers than people that have the privilege to do more prayers in itself is going to be not protected in this kind of religion in itself. No, thank you. So within that, this is going to create a vulnerable actors in the different backgrounds in itself. the people going to discriminate each other, and so on and so forth. And also, talking about the second argument, talking about the religion salvation that is important to be talked about here. Firstly, let's talk about how the value of the prayers in itself that going to be underestimated by people. People, they will tend to think about the amount, only the things that they can see in real life, about they can measure with their eyes, with their brain, and so on and so forth, without knowing the reason behind those kind of amount of the prayers people would do, and so on and so forth. Comparing with each other means that they have the thought to be better than her or to be better than someone else. For example, with exciting the prayer amount of the people in itself. The parameter of, oh, you are a religious people will change into how many or how long you do the prayers in itself, rather than the salvation or the connection that you will have between you and the God in itself. We think that this kind of things did not reflect the religion's intention, which is you to communicate or connected with God in itself. Government, no thank you. Government side of the house talking about the salvation of the prayers in itself, because an individual in itself know when the spiritual condition is in the maximum level, and so on and so forth. We think that this kind of things is not always be there in the spiritual condition is the max. There's no guarantee that you will have a maximum spiritual condition in a month, for example. Does that mean that you are not going to have a prayer for a month, for example, and so on and so forth? So this kind of thing is going to make people are less connected, feeling less connected with God, because they are underestimating the value of the prayers that they do in a government side of the house world in itself, and so on and so forth. So we think that about the spiritual journey that government side of the house state to you, about how people's not going to be pushed more, and they're not going to be feel guilty or force yourself, and so on and so forth. They're going to stay in the religion in itself is not exclusive under their side of the house. In opposition side of the house, the spiritual journey of people is going to be more complex, more easier for them, because they know about the parameter of how their spiritual journey you're going to pray 5 times a day, for example. So you have the spiritual journey, and so on and so forth. And we think that the people that being in the religion in itself is going to be more connected to God, because they want to, not because of they push, and so on and so forth. So we're proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your nice speech. And that was the close of the opening bench. And to open the closing bench, I would like to call the first speaker of CG to the member of government here. Can I use my phone for timer? Thank you. Nanti timer.
Am I audible?
Okay.
I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. There is two things that is differentiate us to the opening team. First, we will be more elaborate about why this was a principally right, and we elaborate about why is a personal connection to their God to be adjust a personal adjustment in the ritual of religions. Second, we can explain why God is a wise creator, and the adjustment is maximal, but the personal adjustment is still needed. So, we believe that the religion is personal connection of person to their God. So, people to feel enjoy to pursue their personal spiritual journey, and we want to stop the stigma that religion is restraint. That was our stance. For support our stance, we will give some frameworks to more crystallize that. First, what is the personal connection of human to their God? The personal connection is the way you bond to your God by embracing them or do what he told, but it's more than that. On our perspective, if we see that it's more like a religion practice, just a duty or burden, not many people can be intimate and feel this as a needed things to them. So we have to personally adjust that. My second framework, we will give individual an option to make personal commitment within them and their God, their religion or their God, such as make or design the moment like time, day, or how much pray in the day, who they determine they feel so close with their God. Third, individual will have a commit on their commitment who they make, and we will educate them to do that. So opposition cannot say that it's just a reason for them to be lazy. In our world, we clearly hate the individual who not pray at all. We want individual have a commitment on their commitment on to their God. And my last framework, in our stance, we are not just focus on the reduction of many prayers or how long you have to pray, but we can also adjust them. We can pursue to you to have more prayers in a day or religion ritual. For example, if individual feel they needed more fasting, they can clearly choose to have a more like a Daud fasting or have more sunnah prayer or something like that. So the opposition cannot say that this was the actual pursue the laziness to do the religion ritual. Now, for my argument, before I can continue my substantive material, I will give some response that integrated to our argument. First, why the concept of standardization is not relevant and not in line on the personal spiritual journey. First, we have to talk what is religion. Religion, in our perspective, is a relationship of individual to their God. And the level of religious for every individual is not the same. For example, not every person have a level of religiousness of ulama or priest or any religion actor. Not every people have that religious level. So there will be lead to stigma that people have not religious or something like that, and it's so harmful and toxic. So they can make people will be changed side, and I will explain more in the next argument. So, moreover, in the religion, we learn to be told to survive in this world by working or pursue education or etc. And a religion is not that restrained. Religion already gives some exception for certain people. Like if you get sick, you allow to not fasting. If you on the journey in some mile, we allow to not pray and can replace the prayer in another time. So we can say that religion is how we pursue personal journey we commit. In my second layer, the adjustment is not just focusing. The adjustment is not just focusing on reduction, like I always said, but the adjustment was already a concept we normalized in our current status quo. We was already mentioned on the Islamic perspective, like fasting or prayer, but we can see in the another case of Catholic Church, a divorce is a huge sin in the Catholic perspective. So in the past, people cannot choose to divorce even if there was a violent abuse, cheating, or etc. in the marriage. No, in the current status quo, Catholic people can choose to divorce with a good reason and can do that if they got the agreement of spouse in the Vatican. Even if it's a long journey, but there are adjustments for that. No, my last layer, where is still needed to personal adjustment, even the standardized of God is perfect. Many people see this as a burden, so we see the connection of their God to human as not a burden, but intimate connection. That's why we still need to adjust. Now, my second argument. Why the personal adjustment of religion ritual will erase the conflict of religious and not religious people and many other. The idea of religion is restraint people is the source of the conflict. By implementing personal adjustment is the source of conflict. By implementing the personal adjustment, the religion ritual will erase that stigma. Why? Because people will enjoy the spiritual journey and other people will not have a burden or social burden to care about that. So they cannot care to be judged. Moreover, this will prevent some other change from other change. I'm sorry. This will prevent one of the someone to change into anti-religion community because the stigma of religion restraint is gone. Furthermore, there was the only main weapon that people in conclusion, my second argument will be no bad stigma for every aspect. And as closing government, we strongly support this motion. And thank you.
Thank you for your kind speech. And to open the case of closing opposition, I would like to invite the first member of opposition here.
Check. Okay. Check. Okay. My POI preference is you could just raise your hand. I might answer it around a minute 5 or 6 if I still have enough time to answer those questions. So I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, couple of clarification and framework to begin with. First of all, this is a preference debate. Our burden here is to answer why this is generally to be prescribed religion still have standing preference in our current status quo and is not aligned with personally adjustable religious ritual. Our framework reason here is as closing opposition, we prefer to stay because the spiritual journey in our side is going to be much worth it at the end of the day. Secondly, we don't want to adjust this personally because our preference is still with generally prescribed one. Either way, society might label you as an outcast even if you instead prefer personally adjustable ritual instead. Thirdly, generally prescribed ritual in our status quo is already enough, such as doing Islamic prayer 5 times in a day or doing a charge in preferred general schedule. Our stance here is that we still want to stay with our current status quo in majority of generally prescribed religion. One, because we believe that those generally prescribed religious ritual is already enough. Original prayers concept is already valid because there is several evidence there is validity of those prayer concept in general in previous holy book as we know in current status quo. Couple of responses. Couple of comparison toward the opening opposition side of the house. What makes us different from the opening opposition side of the house is that those and our other bands, that's our spiritual journey, is going to be much more valued and much more worth it in proper of deep analysis or contextualization that we are going to bring at the end of the day. Opening opposition did not engage on the government scenario and the satisfactory condition that we will be the one to engage with our alternative counterfactual to stay with status quo and with likely much more better benefit. Moving on toward my rebuttal. First of all, the opening government say that we could have different perspective on religion, but yes, that may happen, but it will not give you a satisfactory condition on your own journey because you're doing a personally adjusted one. Because this personally adjusted one is not in line with those what happened and what have been prescribed in those holy books. Second rebuttal, opening government say that this personally adjusted one, your brain will not feel like it is forced and you could be more peace. Yes, that could do happen, but your peace and maximum satisfactory will not going to be very sufficient regardless you change it universally. Third rebuttal, opening government say that when you get a certain problem or maybe you get sick, the option prepared personally will be better. But do realize that in our current status quo in general prescribed one, we do also have a better alternative. For example, when you could not do certain prayer as the generally prescribed one alternative exists and could the much better beneficial impact at the end of the day. When you don't follow the runic indirectly, it's going to be very shameful for the religion that you follow, and your satisfactory condition is not going to be very maximum. Moving on toward my first argument. First of all, why we believe this spiritual journey is going to be much worth it in our status quo. First of all, this means that your satisfactory journey on our side is going to be much better. For example, when you could do several fasting for 30 days, you could be much more feel satisfied than you could prefer on your own fasting or your own religious ritual. Moreover, you could gain certain guarantees of faith that's being emphasized at the end of the day because you are doing this kind of full implementation of generally prescribed religious ritual at the end of the day, right? The characteristic of the spiritual journey is that the whole point is to be patient, and you need to learn about belief, religion, and wisdom at the end of the day because you already testament with your faith. You won't have this wisdom in spiritual of journey when you sacrifice your prayer and belief personally to follow your desire. Nothing that you learned because nothing is going to be very compromised at the end of the day. No sense of satisfactory. Well, though satisfactory is very important to achieve the goal of religious ritual to be peace. The second layer is that we do believe that those discrimination is not going to be always the big deal like what have the opening option argued before, but instead the satisfactory journey in the perspective of the God itself. Faithful follower will likely ashame you in even rural or domestic condition, which we believe approaching this conservative religious follower is one of a burden also, right? Moving on toward the second argumentation. First of all, why generally prescribed religious ritual is still going to be relevant and still going to be standing in this kind of debate. First of all, we still prefer generally prescribed religious ritual in two layers of argumentation. First, the adjustable one will take even long time to conceal or to wait to make you align like that, assuming that if you succeed in that condition, if you mean that you are re-implicating the concept of the religion itself without even waiting what counterfactual of the faith will exist in the end, right? For example, secondly, we do believe that those current general prescribed religion itself is already enough because each religion have already its basic instruction and basic agreement since the very start of the day, right? In which we believe that those general religious ritual is already sustained with rules, and those general prescribed rules is already being agreed with those kind of proper on God. In comparison, in general prescribed ritual, in which when you are unable to do those religious prayer ritual because of an other occasion, there's still going to be another excuse that can be forgiven. When you try to preach a new personally adjustable religious ritual, you don't know, no thanks, you don't know whether or not your prayer will be accepted at the end of the day. Even if it's okay to not wonder about that, it doesn't guarantee that you will have certain relevancy of reward as you wanted by the end of the day. You could keep questioning instead. Moving on toward what have the closing government have said before, that they say that it's going to be better to have personal connection to God that they have created. But do realize that the bond that you are having with God is not going to be guaranteed going to be very faithful as you are portraying personal option, right? There's no guarantee on your personal commitment either. Even if you always portray your adjustment on you such doing a good thing, you don't need to offer do such as religious ritual just for or to fulfill your personal desire, right? Each activity have its own consideration value to implement with, and it have several arbitrary concepts to begin with, right? Those desire is going to be very incompatible. Moreover, several religions such as in Islam also limit their prayers to not do continuous activity in every frequent time without any commit against it, right? To realize that God also know and not that stupid to know your activity, every value is arbitrary regardless of your desire and judgmental value. Moving on to the second layer. Assuming if it's proper, if you are praying based on your religious personality, if you are praying on your personally adjustable religious activity, then for you don't know the clear parameter instead. Without this, other society doesn't know this preference of your religion. Society will shame it personally and make you as an outcast, as an something weird or freak, but also your prayer method in public is not going to be very uncomfortable even if you adjust it in every time. Lastly, those respective religion is already enough. The generally prescribed one is a way to test your faith when your God with your God also. Moreover, when you adjust it, no guarantee of clear parameter that is going to be very accepted at the end of the day. Let's characterize how prayer is. Not every prayer is depressing as what government portrayed, right? Not every prayer want to communicate or even to adjust they want. There's a lot of prayer that is still obeying and not so conservative on doing religious ritual. We don't have to adjust it personally at the end of the day, right? This kind of prayer also have those kind of utility that they are not always going to be ignored. But even if they are ignored, it's okay because they have certain punishment or implementation or depends on their behavior, on their arbitrary concept, whether is it good or not. Because those preferred is going to be much more unbeneficial in this side of the house. So that's why we still prefer this generally prescribed one as opposed to this register. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your great speech. And to close the government debate, I would like to call the government whip here.
Thank you for the time. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So the honorable juries, like my first speaker says, our stance is to make people more comfort to pursue his religion because that was the contract was adjustable or more personally to them. So they are no burden for them and can make them more diligent to practice their religion. The condition of current status quo that more information moving around and more diverse condition or that if for each person will lead to more people cannot stick one standard and make more burden to people. In our side, we believe that person can practice their religion without any burden, and a religion is contract from person to their God. So say that's why closing government is better than everything. We clearly explain first from the principally perspective why religion is a personal correction from person to their God. Before I continue my speech, I want to give some response to opening government. We agree that in this current status quo, a religion is more personally and their agreement on their God or their religion. We also agree that collectivity is not relevant. We can also doing religion ritual in our home. And like at the COVID issue also, we have pray from home, not pray together in the mosque, but not change the meaning of religion. But they not clearly explain what the personally adjustment religion rituals and why the principally right. And in this case, we have explained the time of religion ritual can change more like my first speaker was said. And then I will give my response to the opening opposition. Opening opposition said the time of religion's ritual cannot change. We say no, because religion not put pressure for people. Like have said, we are pursue for education. Is also one of the example we follow the religion. And other example is if we sick, we can pray with like position of sleep. And if we at long journey, we can still doing prayer. And I will say it again, even the standardization of religion is perfect, we still see religion as not as burden and more intimate connection. So there will be need to adjust that there will be intimate connection between them. So there is no point for opening opposition. And now I will continue to give response to the closing opposition. They said, personal religion journey more better than other. We say that was a fake spiritual journey because people will tend to see as a burden or dirty, but then don't see this as a thing they need. The characterization of God is always know what inside of the people's heart and will forgive our sin if we are back again to purity. So God will not give burden to people if they cannot pursue that. It's so clearly personal adjustment is right thing to do and to make the connection between personality and God more intimate. So no point for closing opposition. In conclusion, we are better than every team because we clearly explain why this principally right and explain why it's good thing. We broadly support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your great speech. And to close the opposition bench debate and the whole debate, I would like to call the opposition whip here.
Hi. Yeah, my sound's audible. Okay. Um. Okay. POI preference is just by waving your hand. Do not spam your hands. It would just be disruptive to my speech. So I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Judges and panels do not buy what the opening benches have already told to you, right? Why? First thing first, there is no engagement from opening benches. The OG talk about how spiritual journey is important towards their comfortability of the believers, and while the opening opposition talks about how you can devalue your prayers to God, for example, and how the ancestors have followed the ritual, etc. So there is no engagement at all from the opening benches. Therefore, you should not buy what the opening benches have already told to you. While opening opposition failed to engage with the opening government, we're going to prove to you why government benches won't have any place in this debate after my speech, right? What have we contributed as the closing opposition? First thing first, as closing opposition, we do believe that using the prescribed time as a worthy spiritual journey rather than the adjustable time of prayer, right? As the government benches have proposed. And second thing, we have explained to you the effects of using adjustable prayers in society, how they would react, how they would respond to your adjustable prayers and etc. Right? Third thing, how we have already explained to you how prayers based on holy books, for example, like Al-Quran and the Bible, etc., are still valid, and we're going to explain to you more in my clashes between the teams. Right? First, now let's just move on to my first clashes on the opening government. Let's tackle down what the opening government have already told to you. Right? First thing first, they said that the adjustable prayers are much more better because it came from your heart and you are comfortable with it. Therefore it is a class to actually do it, right? The prayers. But we don't think opening government's personal journey will not work at the end of the day, right? It won't work at the end of the day. Why? First thing first, the moment you chose adjustable prayers is the moment you sacrifice prayers that have certain parameters based on holy books for your own comfortability, right? Holy books that have actually witnessed the prayers, have actually agreed to the prayers, have actually characters such as prophets, for example, etc. Wait for a minute, right? Okay, holy books such as example. Like there have been eyewitnesses, for example, and evidence such as Kaabah or the Vatican, for example, that have proved to you that these prayers are still valid and you should actually follow it, right? Even the moment you compromise your prayers, the moment you sacrifice your spiritual journey, right? Let's characterize what my first speaker have already told to you, right? About spiritual journey. What's actually about? Spiritual journey is actually about learning and accepting yourself, that you are actually comfortable with your religions, with your prayers, etc. It's not just about your comfortability. It's not just a stepping stone that you can actually pass on to, right? It's not. The spiritual journey in government benches won't work because there is no process. They already claim that, oh, you know what, this method of prayers is already comfortable in me. Therefore, I don't have to actually go through the process of accepting that kind of prayers. Therefore, there is no process of spiritual journey in opening benches and closing government. Yes, Axel, sure. Right, I will explain your questions later. Right now, I move on to my second tacklement on the opening government. They said that it doesn't matter in the aspect of collectivity of the prayers because you know what, God judge you, not society, and etc. Right? But I do think that the opening government is so evil, right? Why? First thing first. Sure, let's take the bullet here. We do agree that you could do your adjustable prayers at any place you want. You want to do it in mosque, for example, or on the church, for example, whatever you want to do. But let's actually consider what the opening government failed to consider, right? Let's not be naive like opening government here, ladies and gentlemen. First thing first, they failed to consider two matters. First thing, family complication, and second, society's reaction. If you born in a family that's actually strict with religion, for example, in Islam or in Christianity, and you actually do your adjustable prayers in front of your parents and etc., and you eventually get judgment, you will eventually get discriminated by your own parents, you get depressed, you get actually pressured by wait a minute, by your mother's shouting at you because of your adjustable prayers is not enough, it's not actually compatible, right, in that family, and therefore opening government failed to consider that kind of scenario. And second thing, if you actually go to the public and do your adjustable prayers, for example, in like a mosque, and there's a lot of people watching you do your adjustable prayers, they will eventually reject that kind of, you know, praise. No, thank you. You just don't have to sending. Yeah, a lot of people saw you do prayers and etc. Your adjustable prayers, right? Therefore, eventually, at the end of the day, they will eventually cast you out of your complex of houses and etc. Right? Because they won't allow that kind of adjustable prayers because it's not based on the holy books. Therefore, holy books still valid at the end of the day, right? But sure, if opening government says still invalid, therefore I don't think I could convince you, because we have already proven to you there are eyewitnesses, prophets, and evidence of why the prayer is still valid at the end of the day. So the opening government is so evil to ignore these circumstances while they're only going to say, you know what, only God can judge you, while society can make you depressed, traumatic, and actually consider you as Satan, right? So yeah, let's not talk about OG, or let's talk about OO. OO argue that we can change the word of God because our ancestors followed the parameters and etc. Right? We are on the same page on that, but we're going to prove to you why in our side of house our explanation is much more better. What we have been contributing, we have been explaining to you that prescribed prayer is still relevant. Why? Under these two circumstances, prescribed prayers are based on holy books, for example, like Al-Quran and etc., and have eyewitnesses and have proof of the event like Kaabah and Vatican, etc. That is why it matters not just about ancestors following the same ritual. Second thing, consider that early, they said that OO made a point regarding how the value can be lower because you're adjusting your prayers, but we're still going to say that they still haven't answered OG, because at the end of the day, OG will say that if you are comfortable with your prayers, it's still going to work. But we have already explained to you how if you don't do the prayers based on the religion, you actually implicitly are going to mock the culture of Middle East, or for example like Europe, and therefore CG and OG have been proven that they have no place, while OO have been proved that we are much more better than them. That's why we're proud to oppose.
Thank you for the fine speech, and that is the close of the final round of an EDC UNESA 2023. Give a big applause for all the finalists. And thank you for all of the finalists, and all of the judges will deliberate to decide who are going to be the winner. And yeah, you can wait. Good afternoon and thank you. Oh, FTA, FTB, okay, FBSA, FBSB. Okay, so all of the grand finalist team already here. So for the announcements, will be announced by our core educator. And we also welcome to Bapak Dr. Muhammad Soleh MPD as the Director of Student and Alumni Affairs of UNESA. And yeah, without any further ado, oh belum datang. Okay. Okay, we will wait until Bapak Dr. Muhammad Soleh to arrive here, and after that we will announce the winner of NUDC 2023. So please wait for a couple minutes more. Thank you. before we announce it, I would like to say good afternoon and welcome to Mr. Dr. Muhammad Soleh MPD as the Director of Student and Alumni Affairs of Universitas Negeri Surabaya. Please give big applause for Dr. Muhammad Soleh. Okay, so this is the time that you already waiting for. So the announcement will be announced directly by our core educator to Mr. Aditya Janu. The time is yours.
Test, test. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Okay, firstly, I want to say welcome to the Director Kemahasiswaan and Alumni UNESA and Pak Soeb as the PIC of the UNESA Debating Unions and Jasmine also as my DCA. Secondly, I also want to congratulate all the teams who have committed and also showing your very best performance to debate until this far. So please give a round of applause to all of you guys. Thirdly, we come to a very, very tough decision, but remember, debating teach us about how to appreciate each progress we have, like the second motions we are debating about, like self-improvement need to be appreciated, and debating also teach us about that. So not to mention, debating also teach us about appreciate other person victory and also evaluate ourselves to improve day by days in order to be stronger individuals in the future, right? So in my current speech today, I would like to announce the result of grand final round, as well as I will also announce the top 3 individuals or top 3 best speakers who represent UNESA to the next level. First announcement is grand final result. On the grand final result, we have 4 teams debating. In opening government, we have FTA. In closing government, we have FTB. In opening oppositions, we have FBS-B. Closing oppositions, we have FBS-A. 4 judges on grand final round, me, Janu, Jasmine, Landry, and Bu Clarasinta, we come to unanimous and consensus decision. First announcement is the third winner. The third place on grand final round will automatically become the third winner. We want to congratulate closing government Fakultas Teknik B. Second rank, second winner on the grand final, we want to congratulate opening opposition Fakultas Bahasa dan Seni B. And the grand champion of National University Debating Championships, university level 2023, we want to congratulate opening government Fakultas Teknik A. Congratulations for all the teams who won the final round and commiseration from closing opposition. You got 4th rank and 3rd runner-up of these competitions. It's just a number, it's just a ceremonial wording, but we also appreciate your effort until this far. Last but not least, the announcement of top 3 best speakers who represent UNESA to NUDC this year. The first best speaker will be the delegate of NUDC as debater. We want to welcome Muhammad Axel from Fakultas Teknik A. Second best speaker also will join Axel as a pair and become the debater. We congratulate and welcome back-to-back same pair last year, Muhammad Noval, Fakultas Bahasa and Seni A. The third best speaker will be the N1 adjudicator. So this one not join as a debater, but join as N1 adjudicator. We will follow the accreditations of national adjudication. It is very big opportunity to enhance more your debating skills and also assess many debate tournaments and improve your analysis to certain debate, even though some people underestimate N1 adjudicator, but we never do that because everyone have equal chances because the rule of N1 also important. So lastly, the third best speaker who will be the N1 adjudicator is Deandra Putri from Fakultas Bahasa and Seni B. Right, so congratulations for all individuals and all the teams. I will give it back to the moderator or MC to lead the ceremony sessions.
Okay, thank you so much for Kak Janu for announcing the result of our grand final. And I would like to invite all of the winner, the first winner, second winner, and the third winner to do a photo session. And okay, before that, we would like to hear a closing statement and officially close the NUDC selection of UNESA from Dr. Muhammad Soleh. To Dr. Muhammad Soleh, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hidup mahasiswa. Alhamdulillah, terima kasih kepada para pendamping, para juri yang telah membina dengan kesabaran dan kerja keras. Saya sampaikan terima kasih kepada semuanya, kepada para alumni KDMI dan peserta adik semua yang saya cinta, saya banggakan. Alhamdulillah, pada hari ini adalah hari yang pertama di mana Anda nanti akan belajar lebih keras lagi. Karena setelah tentunya di ruangan ini, Anda adalah yang terbaik di fakultas Anda dan di UNESA. Tepuk tangan untuk kita semua. Dan bagi yang telah lolos, ya, yang disampaikan oleh Dewan Juri tadi, kami berharap terus untuk belajar, karena pada saat ini kita memiliki banyak potensi-potensi yang itu bisa kita jadikan untuk teman untuk belajar, ya, karena ke depan persaingan lomba ke depan ini sangat berat. Tentunya latihan-latihan itu sangat diperlukan, ya, melalui latihan-latihan di internal maupun di tingkat regional, supaya nanti kita sudah membiasakan diri ketika tampil di level nasional. Tentu saja ini adalah tiket yang luar biasa, ya. Mudah-mudahan ini bisa awal dari kita bekerja bersama-sama, karena selama ini UNESA selalu masuk 10 besar, ya. Setiap tahun lomba ini kita selalu masuk 10. Saya berharap tahun 2023 ini kita juara. Saya siap memfasilitasi Anda latihan dan apapun yang Anda perlukan fasilitas akan kami fasilitasi. Saya ingin Pak Sueb, Bu Yeti, Pak Arif, dan semuanya Bapak Ibu pendamping fakultas, terutama juga bagi adik-adik yang masih baru, itu bisa kita ajak latihan bersama, bisa di ruangan ini. Ruangan ini atau di tempat lain di UNESA, kalau ada agenda, tidak ada agenda ruangan, bisa kita agendakan untuk belajar bersama. Kita bisa menghadirkan juri yang luar biasa ini. Setiap saat bisa datang ke sini, kita undang. Gitu adik-adik ya. Jadi saya berharap ini terutama nama-nama yang diumumkan, ini adalah baru permulaan dan kami mempercayai kepada Anda untuk bisa membawa nama UNESA PTNBH dan Anda juara pada saat UNESA PTNBH tahun pertama. Itu sudah luar biasa. Sekali lagi saya ucapkan selamat kepada semuanya, terima kasih atas partisipasinya. Anda telah mengantarkan 3 terbaik ini dan yang lain masih banyak kesempatan untuk Anda bisa mengikuti kegiatan yang lain karena partisipasi Anda ini juga ada nilainya, ada skornya. Kami menghargai kepada Anda semua. Kepada para pendamping seluruh fakultas, saya sampaikan terima kasih yang sebesar-besarnya atas terselenggaranya kegiatan ini. Terima kasih, saya kira itu yang dapat kami berikan kepada kita semua. Kegiatan ini kita tutup dengan bacaan hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Muhammad Soleh, for the closing remarks. And after this, I would like to invite all of the winner, FTB as the third winner, FBSB as the second winner, and FTA as the first winner of NUDC UNESA to go to in front of the stage, and we will have a photo session, and I will also invite all of the core educator, Kak Janu and Kak Jasmine, dan juga saya mengundang Bapak Muhammad Soleh untuk ke depan untuk memberikan hadiah secara simbolis dan juga foto bersama pemenang. Kepada ketiga tim yang telah memenangkan bisa langsung ke depan panggung untuk melakukan foto bersama terlebih dahulu. Silahkan. FTB silahkan langsung bersama FBSB dan FTA silakan untuk menuju panggung untuk menerima hadiah secara simbolis dan melakukan foto bersama. Kami undang juga kepada Kak Janu dan Kak Jasmine sebagai core educator dan Bapak Muhammad Soleh sebagai Director of Kemahasiswaan dan juga alumni UNESA untuk menyerahkan hadiah secara simbolis kepada para pemenang. Baik, untuk yang pertama, untuk kepada Kak Jasmine, saya persilakan untuk memberikan hadiah secara, hadiah juara ketiga kepada tim FTA. Beri selamat kepada tim FTB. Mungkin bisa foto bersama terlebih dahulu. Baik, terima kasih Kak Jasmine. Selanjutnya saya panggil dan undang Kak Janu untuk memberikan hadiah secara simbolis kepada juara kedua, yaitu tim FBSB. Tepuk tangan untuk tim FBSB. Bisa melakukan sesi foto bersama terlebih dahulu. Terima kasih Kak Janu. And last but not least, for the grand prize, juara pertama NUDC kami undang Bapak Muhammad Soleh untuk memberikan hadiah secara simbolis kepada tim FTA. Terima kasih Bapak Muhammad Soleh dan selanjutnya kami undang juga untuk pembicara untuk Bapak Muhammad Soleh untuk memberikan hadiah simbolis kepada juara pertama pembicara terbaik yaitu Muhammad Axel dari tim FTA. Tepuk tangan untuk Muhammad Axel yang akan mewakili UNESA ke kancah regional dan nasional sebagai debater. Kami juga mengundang Muhammad Naufal Hilmi sebagai pembicara terbaik kedua yang akan menemani Muhammad Naufal menjadi debater di NUDC tingkat regional dan nasional. Tepuk tangan untuk Muhammad Naufal. Selanjutnya kami panggilkan juga pembicara terbaik ketiga yaitu Deandra dari tim FBSB yang akan menjadi N1 untuk Universitas Negeri Surabaya di level nasional. Baik, kami terima kasih. Selanjutnya adalah foto bersama antara seluruh pemenang dan juga Bapak Muhammad Soleh serta core adjudicator dan juga seluruh dewan juri dari NUDC tingkat Universitas Negeri Surabaya kami undang juga untuk melakukan foto bersama di depan panggung. Kepada Bapak Arya juga mungkin bisa berfoto bersama terlebih dahulu bersama pemenang. Baik, terima kasih kepada Bapak Ibu Dewan Juri dan staf kemahasiswaan UNESA dan juga Bapak Muhammad Soleh sebagai Wakil Rektor Kemahasiswaan dan juga alumni Universitas Negeri Surabaya. Dan sekali lagi kami ucapkan congratulations and good luck for all of the winner and the delegation of Universitas Negeri Surabaya for NUDC regional and national stage. Give a round applause to the winner once again. Okay, that's all for our NUDC selection today. We would like to congratulate all of the winner and all of the participants. There will be another change for you all that hasn't win. So, thank you so much.